The Abandoned Hospital by RDJ. A ton of neighborhoods have a lot of spooky places in them. You realize the specific kind I mean. Houses that are for reasons unknown, deserted, or blocked. Nobody truly appears to know why. So every one of the kids just concluded the houses are probably haunted or something like that. The more grown-up kids made up strange tales about them simply to unnerve their friends. It's in most cases simply a lot of BS, yet it comes legend with the children in the area. My area had something shockingly better than that. You see, we had this old deserted hospital. I didn't know much about it, truth be told. It had been deserted a long time ago, seemingly forever. The children in the local area all guaranteed it was a psych ward. Well, medical clinic, not house. However, I never truly confirmed that. We had this little town legend about it, essentially just among us kids. So the story went that this was an old medical clinic, yet when they shut it down, the patients were released once more into society. One of the patients, a man the children called Rusty, not the cleverest nickname I know, but we were all kids, all things considered. He believed the spot to be his home, and gone back to living in it years after. Probably, this man lived in the cellar and would attempt to kill anybody who at any point entered his home. The children in the area would continuously dare each other to break in and check out the old clinic. Nobody could, at any point really, do it, however. I've tried myself. The nearest I gotten was up to the door. When I was there, however, I'm not excessively pleased to say I backed down right away and ran back. There was one boy in our group that accepted the challenge though, Ben. I was a secondary school student on Halloween. A bunch of us made a beeline for the medical clinic to check out the creepy place once again. A few of us would go straight up to the fence, start to climb up, and afterwards back down immediately. One kid that I didn't actually know well, Ben, was bugging us all brutally for being such quitters. He continued to tell us that the tales of Rusty were only a lot of BS and we were idiots for being so frightened. All 6 of us backed down from going in, and we were being mocked by Ben for it. When we'd all had enough of his garbage, we told Ben that if he couldn't put his money where his mouth was, he better just shut up. We were off base and expecting that Ben was going to chicken out like us. However, he promptly agreed and started to move closer to the fence. He quickly bounced up and down over the fence, then he waved at us and strolled over to the entryway of the medical clinic. He really tried to open the entryway too. That was more than any of us had tried to do at that point. It didn't work, however. The entryway was locked. This really kind of allowed Ben the opportunity to stop and to just come back. Yet he didn't. In the wake, he tracked down an enormous stone and used it to break one of the basement windows. We as a whole stared in awe. Obviously, we figured the noise would draw in someone to the site. But Ben broke the glass out of the cellar window and then painstakingly lowered himself out of sight. We were all really stunned, and a bit embarrassed about ourselves too. We all trusted that Ben would return in short order just to gloat about it, but he didn't. Sincerely, at first, we were simply shocked he'd even gone in. When we were more shocked that he was remaining in there for a really long time. The sensation of being shocked, however, started to blur into stress. The increasingly long time just went on. Ben actually didn't return out of the clinic. It was awful enough when an hour had passed. Far more atrocious when 2 hours passed. And totally appalling when almost 4 hours had ticked by. What's more, not a solitary peep from Ben. It truly started to mess with us. We didn't know why he hadn't returned yet. We were certainly worried about it. We kept thinking that he was just trying to scare us. The most horrendously awful thought, and the one that turned out to be increasingly more reasonable to us kids as time went on, was that Ben ran into Rusty, and he had most likely been attacked for being in his home. Now, Ben's vanishing put us all in a terrible spot. We shouldn't have been hanging over there to begin with. If he didn't return, we'd have to go to our parents or the police. And neither of those thoughts would have been simple at all. At the point when Ben actually didn't show up for 6 hours, we went straight to the police. perhaps we should have gone to our folks first. Looking back, since when the police called our folks unexpectedly, of course, the circumstance deteriorated. I got chewed out before every one of the police, and all the parents too. While the berating was terrible, what happened when the police went to the medical clinic to search for Ben was a lot worse. They looked through the whole of the property, the cellar, the rooms, the corridors, everything. There was not a single hint of Ben or any other individual. The police figured he'd simply left the hospital and left us looking outside and anywhere else for him. Despite the fact that Ben actually wasn't found yet, the police told us he was most likely playing out his trick and he'd just be back later. But Ben didn't return that evening. Nor did he return the following day. He didn't return the following week. Search parties searched for him all through the town, however, he wasn't anywhere. The emergency clinic was looked through at least a couple of times and nothing was found. No Ben, no Rusty, no sign other than the window that Ben broke. Nothing to show that anyone had at any point been there whatsoever. Posters with Ben's picture were set up in the post office, storefronts, telephone poles, and in stores, yet he never reappeared. This occurred during the 70s, and all the way up till now, and I still have no clue about what happened that evening. Ben was never found. The responsibility I felt all through the years is really quite awful, yet not close to as terrible as the wondering. I at absolutely no point ever saw Ben again in the future. I don't have the slightest idea what happened to him. I have no idea what happened when he went into that abandoned clinic.